It's gonna be special. It's gonna be great. Off to the mainland without coaches and freight. Please, sir, I beg you, I just have to know. Will you, won't you take me to the railway show? Hello, guys. It's Timothy 2009, and welcome to a new Thomas & Friends Bluebird review. Now, it's been quite a while, hasn't it? But we're finally back. And yep, we're doing another type of special, type of Thomas review. Now, I've been in a great race kick as of this year. So, that's what we're going to be talking about. I've wanted to do a video like this ever since I made some of these new Great Race models. And the Great Race collection has certainly grown, and can you really blame me? Like, I'm a huge fan of The Great Race. It's like my second favorite Thomas & Friends movie of all time. Now, I know some of you are probably saying, well, how is this movie of all Thomas movies my second favorite? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about. I think one day I might try to do a video talking about why I love The Great Race in full depth. But for right now, we're taking a look at some of my models I made based on the popular movie. Well, I think popular might be an understatement. Now, I know this movie does get a little bit of like criticism from some of the Thomas fans. Even some like the Unlucky Tugger, James A. Williams. Now, The Great Race is sort of a obscure type of Thomas Friends special to talk about when you really think about it, but I still really love this movie. It holds a special place in my heart. I feel like 2016 was one of the best years in terms of media. We seem to have been getting a pretty good amount of like shows and like seasons or like movies. But you guys can like tell me what your thoughts were on 2016. Personally, it's probably one of my favorite years. Well, aside from a few mishaps, but that's what we're talking about. We're talking about The Great Race, which came out in 2016. So this was like right around the time season 20 came out. And I'm going to be honest, I think Thomas & Friends should have ended after season 20. But you guys can still state your thoughts. I know Mattel probably wouldn't let the show end since it's very marketable. But think about it. Do you start to like ask yourself like why a lot of companies are going bankrupt nowadays? Well, I think there's sort of a loophole into all this. It seems that every company that tries to tackle the Thomas & Friends brand always goes bankrupt. I mean, look at Art Productions. They ran for about 2013 to 2016. But then in 2017, they lost all their money, and they had to like switch to Jamfield, which then lost all their money in 2020 after Big World Big Adventures failed. Then Nelvana took over the brand and made the crappy reboot that nobody likes, All Engines Go, which then got canceled as of this year. Now, I don't really know like what type of company is gonna like put their hands on Thomas next, but I'm just hoping that they don't go bankrupt. I feel like that might be like a feeling that I have. It seems that every time like a company like buys the brand of Thomas, they always go out of business. Really makes you wonder like what's the deal. But you guys can like but yeah, that's just a theory I have. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about The Great Race, like I've said. Now, this isn't every single Great Race character there is. I know there's like about 12 international engines. However, there's some international engines that I don't really care about, or like don't have anything interesting to say about them, or don't think they're as good as some of the others. Now, I don't hate every single international engine. The only international engines that I despise are the ones that replace classic characters, and the ones that have no personality and are just made to sell toys. I feel like that's self-explanatory. But yeah. So we're talking about some of my all-time favorite Great Race characters here. And don't worry, if I feel like doing it, I might make the rest of the Great Race characters. Just do not, under any circumstances, spam me in the comments asking me to make Raoul, Ivan, Rajiv, Yongbao, etc. I will do them one day. It's just going to take some time, because there's like other type of like characters I could possibly make from this series, but then again, I'm just trying to catch up on some of the models that I didn't have time to make when I canceled the whole Bluebird series. So this explains why you're seeing some of the new ones right here, like Thomas and Vinnie. And there are other models that I do plan to make for this line, but it's just going to be like so very sparse, to put it lightly. I'm not going to waste too much time on this series anymore. I want to focus on my other projects, like the Pocket Fantasy line that I'm continuing. Yeah. Alright, I've been talking long enough. Let's actually dive into this and go down memory lane on why I love this movie. Alright, where should I start? Okay, for you, I'll get the obvious out of the way. Let's talk about Thomas the Tank Engine himself, since Thomas is, of course, the main character. And here come y'all in the comments saying, oh, why is Thomas the main character? Why can't it be someone else, like Gordon or Percy? Look, I understand where you're coming from. I know that Thomas the Tank Engine is overused, but keep in mind, this show is called Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. It's not called the Railway series anymore, as some of you would probably, be more interested in, if the TV series was actually called the Railway series. But Thomas seems to be the most marketable of the entire brand, but people have talked a million times about Thomas's personality, so I'm not going to waste my breath. All I'll say is that I think Thomas has a sort of interesting character arc of learning to be himself and not change who he is. The only thing that I hate about The Great Race is when Thomas comes up with all these new ideas to change himself, but then Sir Topham Hatt just basically, puts those ideas on other engines that didn't really ask them, like Gordon being streamlined, James and Emily being painted. I know it's probably what they would want, but those were Thomas's ideas, keep in mind. And it's the same issue that I have with Lost Treasure, where Thomas basically, finds this pirate's ship in this old abandoned, cavern. But when Sir Topham Hatt realizes this, he basically says that Rocky was the one who found it. It says that Marion was the one who found the treasure, when it landed on Thomas and not Marion. I feel like Sir Topham Hatt can be a little naive sometimes, but I know he's not an idiot. He was used as, the comic relief in, the CGI series, but keep in mind, he still cares about his engines and still scolds them when they mess up. Which can be said a lot about Lost Treasure, considering the amount of times that Sir Topham Hatt got angry at Thomas, but we're not talking about Lost Treasure. Maybe one day, but we'll see. For right now, we have Thomas right here. The only thing of note is that he's covered in paint, sort of like a nice callback to Calling All Engines, if you can even call it that. He has the missing buffer because there was another instance where Thomas crashed into Norman and got damaged, and he's had to go like this to get Gordon's safety valve back, and this is how he looked throughout the rest of the movie. But I still think this makes him more unique from all the other accents he's had, getting covered in fish or coal dust. Yes, those are more iconic, but I love how they're trying to do something new. Now, you could argue and say that things like the Vickerstown Bridge were made to sell toys, but you do know that the Vickerstown Bridge is a real place, a real destination in this show. And I think the Vickerstown Bridge was just made to expand the layouts of people's railways, and whether it's Wooden Railway or Take Along or Trackmaster. I mean, you could use the Vickerstown Bridge as to set up your own little mainland. Now, I know that the Vickerstown station never got any merchandise, but we do have that new 80th anniversary set. So hopefully you could do something with that, make your own little Vickerstown and add the Flying Scotsman and recreate that one scene from The Great Race if you wanted to. I mean, can you see sometimes Mattel does some good merchandise, but I will admit all their merchandise for Big World Big Adventures is crap. You can't really do stuff with these sets. They're so wacky and weird that you can't really add them onto your island of Sodor. And the whole point of Sodor is that it's meant to be based on a real-life railway. You don't see anything weird, a tornado being spun around, or the set about a dragon. I mean, come on. Now, the Vickerstown Bridge, I know some of you are probably going to say, well, they just want to recreate that one bridge jump so that kids can remake that one scene. But you gotta admit, that was pretty cool and awesome, seeing Thomas, jump the Vickerstown Bridge and landing on his wheels. I think what makes this scene even more shocking is when he almost hits, engines like Samson and Hero and Sydney. And then I think the funniest moment is when, the signalman just faints. That was really funny. But I'm not here to ramble on about the Vickerstown Bridge, but it was a very important part in The Great Race. I'm just trying to, get my thoughts out on all the criticisms that most people have with this, and I do understand your opinions. I'm not trying to say that we have to agree with each other, but this is all just my opinions. if you disagree, that's fine, but yeah. I do like the Vicarstown Bridge. It's a very interesting, like, piece to, like... And one more thing, I feel like the Vicarstown Bridge should have been introduced in the Nitrogen era. Just saying. But yeah, we're done with Thomas. He's not really that important. He's just the main character. Sorry, Thomas. But moving on. Okay, where should I start with the international engines? Okay, let's get the rude one out of the way. This is Vinnie, the Canadian engine. Now, I know some are probably going to be saying, wait, but Vinnie's not from Canada. He's from America. North America, you should say. But yeah, I mean, I always wondered, like, okay, Vinnie always confused me, like, even as a kid. I mean, I thought he was from Canada. I don't know, like, where they got North America from. I'm sure some of you might be able to talk about more about Vinnie than I am. All you have to know about Vinnie's character is that he's a bully who, like, picks on engines like Thomas and Philip. He almost, like, derailed Philip, but thankfully, like, Thomas and Ashima just stopped him and made him crash into, like, a telephone pole, whatever it's called. Like, you know those, like, type of electric wires? But yeah. And then, like, I mean, I do like Vinnie's voice. I don't know who does the voice of Vinnie, but he does a great job. Who knows? He might be Canadian, or he might be from America. Okay, let's, Alright. Anyways, Vinnie here is sort of, like, pretty interesting. I don't know what type of train he's based on, but he's some type of, like, American design. Sort of like Rosie and Porter and Hank. He's got the nice white around the wheels. That's what I love. I mean, he has, like, 2 driving wheels and 2 back wheels. But yeah, I can't really think of anything interesting to say about Vinnie, but he did get a lot of screen time in the Thomas Creator Collective, and I especially love his redemption arc in Sodor 7. And yes, I did make D261 George and the Hard Lorries. I mean, I don't know if I should count Scruffy, since he lied to all of them and got sent away, only to come back in the Return of Diesel. Subtle foreshadowing. But yeah, overall, Vinnie turned out pretty good. He's not my favorite of all the international engines, but he's still pretty cool. I just wanted to make a model of this guy. Alright, moving on. Let's get the other, like, type of male international engine also out of the way. We have Etien, the French diesel electric engine. Yeah, I like Etien. He's probably an interesting, like, unique character. Now, Etien, like, is another one of those more interesting international engines. I mean, I'm basically just basing these off as, like, the engines who got merchandise in Thomas Wood and Railway. And Thomas Wood, but we all know that Thomas Wood died. Just wish that the whole entire wooden railway line didn't die as a whole. Yeah, way to leave it to Mattel to, like, do this, but... Here's Etien. He's pretty cool. Not a whole lot to say. He just won, like, the Great Race. Even though I think it should have been Gordon. Or the Flying Scotsman. Whichever one. I mean, I do like Etien. I just wish, like... I mean, this one, like... Those, like, international engines who, like... Doesn't really get a whole lot of focus. And never really, like, came back after Big World, Big Adventures. Same with Vinnie and this other engine I'm going to talk about. But yeah, overall, I think Etien came up pretty nice. It's a very nice little character to have in my Bluebird collection. And it certainly helps to, like, keep the Great Race collection getting bigger and bigger by the day. Who knows? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I had, like, the whole entire collection complete within, like, maybe this year or next year. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But that's Etien, not a whole lot to say. Alright. Here we have Freda, the German engine. Now, Freda is, like... Okay, I love Freda. She has a pretty cute design. Like, this has to be, like, one of the best locomotive designs I've ever seen on an international engine. And I think the Germans really had some pretty cool engines as well. And Freda here is no exception. Look at this. Like, she looks very cool. I know she doesn't have a lot of personality, but that's not, like... I mean, it's not like the Thomas Creator Collective actually did give her, like, a personality and gave her more screen time. But yeah, I really love the Steam games. It's one of my favorite pieces of fan-made Thomas content in the Creator Collective series. I mean, there are other, like, episodes I really love, especially the ones with the international engines. I still can't believe they introduced Axel and Yang Bao early on, even when the movie didn't come out. That's crazy. But, dude, Freda has a very nice paint job. I love the way I painted this. Like, she has nice German, like, lining. The Boyer stripes. The number 409. Oh, it looks so good. I mean, I'm sorry, but this has to be one of my favorite Bluebird models I've made. Hands down, no comparison. I mean, I don't know, maybe one day I might talk about some of my favorite Bluebird models I've ever made of all time, but Freda is definitely up there. S-tier worthy model. I think I've really cooked here. So let me know what you guys think of Freda. I mean, I can't really talk about that much of her personality because she doesn't really do anything, but she still looks pretty great. She's still a very cute little engine. I love Freda. Moving on. Okay. I've already talked about these two before, but here we have Gina, the Italian engine. But let's just be thankful that I haven't made Lorenzo and Beppe, because I hate those guys. It's all about Gina. She's the best one out of all of them. Now, Gina was, like, one of the engines who, like, competed in the shunting challenge, along with Raoul and Ivan, and Ashima. Like I said, I don't know when I'll make Raoul and Ivan, but maybe one day. I don't know. But here we have Gina. She is a very, like, interesting character. I mean, not really a whole lot to her. Like, I'm not even going to mention Big World Big Adventures because I hate that show so much. And I feel like that's what killed off the entire Thomas & Friends franchise. I know that the Mark Forster movie is coming out, so let's hope that it's better. But anyways, yeah, not really a whole lot to say about Gina. Okay, you all know this. You all know who my favorite international engine is. Dun 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 dun. Ashima from India. I have talked about her so many times. Like, it's not even like a contest. I love Ashima. She's easily my favorite international character. Reason being is because she's like, well, it's not just because she gets the most screen time, but I really like her dynamic with Thomas. Now, this is where like some of the big criticism come in with the big race. It's just the whole, oh, Thomas is rude to another engine and blah, blah, blah. But even with that stupid cliche that I'm not really a huge fan of, and I still think Ashima is a great character. Like, I love her design. I love all her colors. All of her little, like, steckled decals. Like, and that face. Just look at Ashima. She has such a beautiful design. But that's not all. Ashima is the one who teaches Thomas that he can be himself and not change who he is. I think Ashima is a great, like, sort of, like, authority figure for Thomas. And, like, if it wasn't for her, Thomas would have just, like, still, like, tried to change himself multiple times, and Mattel would have had more of an excuse to sell toys. I'm surprised, like, okay, well, they did make merchandise for, like, the Paint-Inspired Thomas and Streamlined Thomas. Even Capsule Playrail made a lot of merchandise for this, like, movie. I mean, have you seen all those, like, different, like, engines that Thomas tried to, like, be a part of? Like, they made Steven, they made Harvey, they made Alfie, they made Captain. Like, I'm surprised they didn't make any merchandise of, like, Long Thomas or, like, Thomas with the propellers on his, like, dome, or, like, making him, like, bigger. Yeah. I mean, there was... Look, like I said, I know some of the things that Mattel does are made to sell merchandise, like, even the international engines. But even with all of that, like, I still think Ashima stands out the most out of all of them because of her unique character personality. Let me get one thing clear. If Ashima did not arrive on the island of Sodor and, like, hung out with Thomas, I feel like she would have just been a more bland Mary Sue type of female character. We would have had another situation like this before. With, like, the hit era characters like Molly or Flora or, like... Look, I know some of the female characters like Madge have a unique personality, but still. I just wish that Hit Entertainment could have done more with, like, their new characters and not just made them to sell toys. Yeah. But even with all that, I still love Ashima. She will easily always be my favorite international engine. I don't care what anyone else says. I still love Ashima. Alright, so, in the end, I think The Great Race is still a nice movie. And definitely holds up to me. And I know some people aren't the biggest fan of The Great Race, and if you aren't, that's okay, but keep in mind, this was actually before we got some crap like Big World, Big Adventures and All Engines Go, but I mean, Journey Beyond Soda was pretty good. The only thing I hate is the bouncing animation. And like I said, I think Thomas Friend should have ended after season 20. Because at least we wouldn't have the bouncing animation and characters being replaced and... yeah. But tell me what your thoughts are. So, let me know in the comments below, what was your favorite Bluebird model I've made from The Great Race? Whether that be Freda, Etien, Vinnie, Gina, or Ashima. Comment below what your favorite international engine is. Personally, I gotta say, I mean, I still love Ashima, regardless of, like, how many, like, times I've made her over the past, but I was not expecting to make Freda of all engines. Like, she's really cool. I love this. Sorry, Ashima, but Freda has, like, one of the best designs. And while we're at it, comment below which CGI Thomas characters, like, you love or hate. Anyways, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more. Bye.